I've sewn an amazing summer dress and it only has 2 pattern pieces. The fabric is a double border print. Amazing. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. And today I have some super interesting sewing. I bet you're not going to expect the result just by looking at the pattern pieces. I was in the same boat. It's a dress, has a bodice that's shaped very uniquely. I could not fathom how this could be possible, but yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about. I've sewn a dress from Pattern Emporium called Summer Breeze, and it's a really nice summer pattern. It's pretty classic. The features, I absolutely loved it as soon as I saw the line art. It's got a V neckline front and back. It can be sleeveless or it can be a little bit lower. So the shoulder seam is quite wide, and there's several ways that you can sew this shoulder seam. You can leave it as is and it will just hang over here like a dolman sleeve. Or you can sew a casing in the seam allowance, put some drawstrings and tie it up. That'll ruche it up, make that shoulder narrow, and then you have gathers coming here, front and back. That's beautiful. The other option is to just sew it normal, press the seam allowance open and do some pleats, 3 pleats. That is actually the option that I chose to sew. I was quite conflicted and I hadn't made the choice when I cut the fabric. Even when I started sewing this, I made the decision as soon as I was going to get to the shoulders. But I'm very happy. It's all super cute. Neckline can be pretty deep front and back, but you can adjust it. The bodice is separate from the skirt. Now this is a seam that's meant to be above the natural waist. That is the design. The A-line skirt is super simple, easy to sew. There is a center back seam. I think that can help you save fabric. Otherwise you can eliminate it and cut it on the fold if you have enough fabric. And if you make the maxi version, you can sew side slits. Even the knee length version has them there. I just decided not to sew them because I just didn't want the slits for a shorter dress. I sort of reserved those for maxis. The other thing you can do if you're concerned about the width of the neckline at the back is sew a little strap from side to side. I've seen that in ready to wear. I've decided to just leave it. I was leaving that till the end as well to see if I was going to do that or not. It just depends on how I liked it when I tried it on. Now when you sew the bodice to the skirt, you create a casing. The seam allowance is larger there. And in that casing, you have 2 options. You can do an elastic, super simple, or you can do a drawstring. That means that in the center, you're going to have a section that's interfaced with little buttonholes for you to take out that fabric drawstring. I'm doing the elastic. The Summer Breeze dress is half off just for today. In Australia, it's already Friday. Over here, it's Thursday evening, Thursday night. It'll be on sale through noon Saturday, but in Australia, over here in this area of the world, it'll be around Friday night. I will leave you my affiliate link at the top of the comment section, also in the description box. If you head over to the website and end up purchasing using my link, you don't pay anything extra. I just receive a small commission back from Kate, the designer. It's one of the ways I make an income creating helpful content here on YouTube. If you do want to support me that way, I'm super grateful. Now for the fabric, I'm saying this in capital letters. You need drape. This is not going to look good with a fabric that is structured. All the pleats, the gathers, all the shapes here, they just need the fabric to be nice and drapey. So I think here Rayon is your friend. Rayon in all its varieties. The plain weave, Rayon crepe, Rayon satin, Rayon twill. I think a nice lightweight tencel would be amazing as well. I wouldn't try a tencel twill. I think that would be too heavy for this dress. A crepe would be nice, a silk would be amazing. Rayon linen would be amazing. Just make sure that there's a lot of rayon in the blend and minimal linen. Now, I wouldn't sew it with 100% linen. I think it's too structured for it. Any type of cotton would be too structured for it. Even if it's a really lightweight cotton, like cotton lawn, I wouldn't go there. If you trust what I say about fabric, you'll be very happy if you choose something super drapey. I'm just trying to avoid you a bad experience. Just do not sew this with anything structured because all those features are not going to look that great. I chose a Rayon crepe fabric. It's amazing. It's a border print, but it's a double border print, which means both of the selvages have the beautiful design. I got this one for my birthday, my annual fabric shopping spree my husband treats me to. So let me show you the fabric. It's amazing. And yeah, I'll tell you what my vision here was for the dress. Check out this border print. It's a rayon crepe, very drapey, a little heavier, so perfect for a dress. I won't need a sleeve, it's not sheer. And along here on the selvage, this is one of the selvages, we have this print Then we have a large black section, and along the selvage we have another print. This means I'm cutting cross grain, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I have already washed the fabric. I'm not concerned. So what my idea is to leave this border as a hem. So this is going to be the skirt section. The waist is going to end up over here. And along this other end, I'm going to cut the bodice, and the waist is also going to end up here. So the shoulders, all of this will be here. The seam that unites the bodice to the skirt will be in this black section. I think it'll look really, really cool. I'm really excited to use this. Other than your fabric, if you're going to use elastic, 3/8 elastic, 1/2 inch elastic would be okay for the waist. Now, if you want to make a fabric drawstring, you have instructions in the pattern to cut your strips here. It mentions making bias tape as such and then just folding it and top stitching. Because we're not going around curves and we're not using this to actually bind things, I think it would be okay if you cut these strips on the straight of grain, especially if your fabric is super lightweight. I think that would be okay. 3.8 centimeters or 1.5 inches, and use your bias tape maker that on the other side has 1.8 on it. It's usually red, and you'll be sweet. All very well explained in the instructions. Same as you get the length for the amount you need. If you want to do that here on the drawstrings, you put it in there and then ruche it up. I suggest you make your own. It's highly doubtful that you'll find pre-made bias tape that is going to be nice and flowy. It would feel horrible if it was really stiff. It would just not match the fabric, which I suggested have a lot of drape. So I think it's better if you make your own for the drawstring or for this section. If you're enjoying the fun sewing content here at Lifting Pins and Needles, don't step out without tapping on the like button. Best way to let YouTube know that this is great content. Hopefully more people that sew can find me over here. The sizing for this one comes from 6 to 22 Australian, goes up to a 49.5 inch hip. It's a size range that's reduced compared to the current newer patterns that go up to a size 30 Australian. So take that into account. Now also take into account that there is a lot of ease in this pattern. So when I plot my measurements there, I get between a 16 and an 18. I don't get the same sizing for all of my measurements. So when I printed everything, I printed out both sizes, and then I did flat pattern measurements to check out how much ease I was actually going to end up having. And I was fine with the size 16. I get about 12 to 14 inches of ease at the waist and about 8 to 10 at the hips, which is perfect. So I sewed a size 16 for this one. You also have detailed finished garment measurements for the length. And so the finished length of the dress at the knee version for my size was exactly what I want it to be, 105 centimeters, which is what I aim for. Consider also the casing and everything that usually brings it up shorter. So I was happy I made no length modifications. In actual fact, I made 0 pattern modifications. So personal fitting was basically just choosing my size, and that's it. Super relaxed. Now in the sewing segment, I'm going to show you how to put this together, and you're going to see that this bodice is very, very different. You will be surprised, and you will be surprised at how well it fits considering the shape of the bodice pieces. So let's have a look at this fun sewing segment. It's not too long. Okay, simple pattern pieces for the summer breeze dress. Here I have 2 skirt pieces. They're on top of each other. So there's one, there's the other. The front is meant to be cut on the fold, so I've done that. The back has a center back seam, but because I was able to cut it on the fold, the fabric was wide enough for that. I cut my back on the fold as well. I'm all for having center back seams if it means it's helpful in the layout and I'm going to save fabric, so I'll do that gladly. But on the rare occasion that I can cut it on the fold, I'll do that. So you can see that this is the hem area with the print over here. The upper area of the skirt is black. I think it's going to look amazing. And then the bodice pieces are rectangles, and there are 4 of them. I cut them in the same way. I cut them from the other border, and over here is the shoulder area. Down here is the waist. So that black section is going to be sewn to that black section. I think it's going to look really, really cool. Now these bodice pieces, the bottom edge is clearly marked. You have a mark for your casing and all of those things. From the bottom up, you have a little line. One says low, one says high. That depends on your coverage. I'm doing the high coverage. So I've got a little notch right there and the same on this other side. Now what I'm going to do before sewing, just to make life easier, I'm going to serge everything. And plus for the bodice, you're supposed to serge the rectangles before starting to sew. There's 4 of these, they're all the same. I'm going to serge the edges of the skirt as well, even the bottom for the hem, so that I don't have to worry about that while I'm sewing. When you're serging the bodice pieces, it's super important not to trim anything away because you want to keep that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance intact for later when we sew the seams. This 5/8 seam allowance will be used to finish the armholes and the neckline as well, so be careful with that blade. Here are my bodice pieces. They're 4 separate pieces, they're all serged. The black area here is the waist, the top section there is going to be the shoulder section. So I have aligned them here just to make this print make sense a little bit, not perfect. And here at the bottom we have marks here. So we need to do 4 little seams from this bottom up to that mark, from the bottom up to the mark there. And then once I've got these 3 sewn, I'm going to sew these on the points. So I'm going to have like a tube. So we're just going to get these 4 little seams sewn, 5/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and press them. Check it out. There's a little mark and this is the bottom. So this is the bottom of the bodice. This is what's going to be sewn onto the skirt. And I have 4 seams to sew, few inches. Okay, here is my bodice. I've got the little seams pressed open and then I kept pressing up all of this open edge all along the 4 pieces. So everything is being pressed. Now you can move this around. You can choose which one you want to be the neckline and what you want the side seams to be. It's just all rectangles in the end. I had a look at the print and I chose this one to be my neckline just because there aren't any round features here too much that might end up on my bust. So this is going to be my front right here. So I don't get confused later, I'm just going to get some chalk and write a big F right here so that I know. You probably can't see it, but I can see it very clearly. So that means that these are my side seams right here. These are going to be my armholes. So for now, I'm going to finish and top stitch the armholes. So I'm going to sew all the way around here, and that's like hemming them in essence. Super easy. You've got 5/8 of an inch to do that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Finish the armholes. The neckline comes later. I know the bodice looks very strange so far, but it's going to make sense. And trust me, these are the armholes. I'm going to sew this at 1/2 inch just so that I have some fabric left over under there because the fold is at 5/8. Here's the bodice again. I have just sewn the armholes as you saw. These are this section over here. I've pressed it, so very neat. Now what we need to do is sew the shoulder seams up there on the top. The necklines are still open and I have the memory creases, but we need to unfold them and sew all the way up to the edge like that. So this is finished, but the neckline is still open. We still haven't done that, but we have to attach a skirt, the drawstring, try it on, and confirm that we like this V. I have a sneaky suspicion I'm going to have to bring it up and sew it higher. So there's no other way other than trying on, and that's why this neckline is finished at the end. And also it's got to do with some options that you have for the shoulders as well. The shoulders are sewn with 5/8 of an inch. Remember, the edges have already been serged, so this is a seam that we're going to press open. Now, if you want to do this as a casing and put little drawstrings through there so you can ruche up the shoulders, that would be the casing. If you want to leave the shoulders normal, then you just press your seams open and then this would hang sort of like a dolman sleeve. Otherwise, you can just sew it normal, press it open, don't top stitch anything, don't do the casing, and you can do pleats instead on the shoulders. And I'm leaning towards that option. I think that looks really pretty. This is what one looks like. Here is the armhole. That's why we've got that folded in. It's very neat. This is how it's going to be pressed open. I'm actually going to tack that down there so it doesn't move anywhere by hand, a few stitches. And then towards the neckline, this is where I have the memory crease on before, but it's not finished. So that's why you had to unfold that memory crease so that it's all smooth and it goes all the way to the end. I'm going to repeat on the other shoulder. This is how the shoulder seam looks. This is the edge that's finished, that's top stitched for the armhole. These are the seams. Now this is open and this would be perfect if you wanted to use this as a casing to ruche that in. So that's why it would be open right here. and you would top stitch around there and around there, leaving your gap for your casing. Now the casing would be put in through here, and then the edges would be finished once you top stitch there. That's how the drawstring would finish, and then they would hang off here. You would pull and knot. That's if you want to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to tack this down there and there just so that it doesn't move around, and I'm just going to press it and leave it. Here I have the skirt pieces. Look how beautiful they're going to look. Slightly curved hem right here. A-line, it's not rectangles, and I've got them pinned on the side seams. I'm gonna get the seams sewn pressed. I'm even gonna do the hem. I've made a little mark on the center for both the front and the back, so it's easy for me to attach to the bodice. We'll just get this done quickly, very simple. For the skirt, if you want to, you can do side splits. I think I would reserve that for the maxi because it's a short one. I'm just gonna do a regular side seam here. There's a skirt sewn, so pretty. It's ready to be used in a sec. Now, because the bodice has the edges of the bottom already serged, I went ahead and serged the top of the skirt as well. So when I sew them together, I don't have to worry about that. So that's cool. I made sure to leave a little bit of black fabric here at the bottom so that the hem would end up on the black fabric. That's how I was able to sew it with the machine, because there's nothing that upsets me more than having black thread along another color. I don't like that. So simple machine hem. I pressed it up by 1/2 inch and then I sewed it with 3/8. I've got the bodice upside down. These are the shoulder seams I've just sewn. Here's the neckline. There is the waist seam. This is right sides out. Now I'm going to bring my skirt. My skirt's wrong sides out, and I'm just going to put the bodice inside. When I do that, they're going to end up right sides together. So these should match 1 to 1. Fiddle with them until everything matches. Match up the side seams. This is a seam on the round using 1 inch seam allowance because that's going to be the casing. So I'm concentrating real hard to use the plate underneath so it can come out nice and neat and straight. I'm planning to use an elastic inside, which is super easy and it'll be nice and comfortable. I tend to favor elastics inside rather than drawstrings made out of fabric. So that's what I'm going to do, and both are options in the pattern. If you do want the drawstring, there are instructions for you to interface the center area of the skirt so that you can do a buttonhole there before sewing the skirt to the bodice so that you could pull your drawstring out through there. Okay, here is the seam sewn for the casing. I've got my skirt down here. I'm going to go and press this towards the skirt, going down. And then I'm going to pin it carefully and sew again, now catching all of the seam allowance down there. And that's going to be the space for the casing. I'm going to leave a gap open somewhere so I can put my elastic, and then I'll close the little gap. It's super easy. While I was pressing this down, I was keeping it flat on the ironing board. I was putting the pins on at the same time as I went around and around. Made it super easy. Even though this is a rayon, it's slightly heavier. It's not that slippery like others, so I feel comfortable. Otherwise, I would have hand basted this, but I'm not doing it in this case. This is the little gap that I left myself. It's about 1 inch wide, so I can thread my elastic through there. I'm going to get that done and then close it up. My waist is done. And then I'm going to sort out the shoulder pleats. There's a little template on the pattern for you to mark them. I'm going to do that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is try it on to see what I think about the depth of this V, which I know is going to be too deep, but it's just a matter of sewing it up higher. Okay, here is one of the shoulder seams. This is the neckline, this is the armhole. And we have this little template here. As you can see, it says armhole neckline, so I'm going to align it right here. And I'm going to put pins right where the marks are. I've got super colorful pins. I'm going to flip this to the other side so I can do the other side. Remember, the neckline is still open. Take this first pin and bring it to the second, and that's the first pleat. I'm actually going to open this up a little bit more. That's the first pleat right there. Take these away. Then this next one, this is the next big section. This pin is going to come to this pin, and that is the second pleat. The volume of these pleats are going towards the armhole. And then the last one is right here. this pin to this pin right here. So I know I've got them pinned correctly. Compare the length right here to this one. So it's going to look super beautiful. So once I've got it all neat, all I'm going to do is sew along that right there on the top, catching all the pleats, and that's it. They're just going to be caught in the seam, and then they're just going to drape beautifully down the front and the back. And then repeat here. Then I'm going to try on. See about this front and back neckline. I might have to raise it. Once I'm happy with that, then I'm going to top stitch around here. I've already got my memory crease, and that's the dress. Here I'm sewing down these pleats. Super easy process. I just made sure all the seam allowance was neat on the other side, that everything was nice and as flat as possible. And I'm sewing right into that shoulder seam right here. It's not going to be visible, and it's going to hold the pleats down. Check out these pleats, so cute. And now I've pinned up to where I feel is comfortable. It's a good 2 inches higher, and I'm going to do the same with the back, and then I'll be okay. After correcting the neckline, sewing up the seam that I needed, now I'm sewing it down. I had that memory crease, so I'm going all the way around, 2 pivot sections, the V in the front and the back, and I'm using 3/8 seam allowance here just to make it a little more delicate. Here is my dress. It turned out amazing. It turned out exactly as I imagined. So you can see this type of print right here ended up at the upper chest. That's what I wanted. Nice shoulders. The pleats are right there. So beautiful, so delicate. They drape amazingly. Makes this shoulder area much smaller compared to the original length right here. So that was really fun to do. I love sewing those pleats. It was so easy. Then we have this armhole. That's just top stitched, folded in, easy peasy, the same as the neckline. The neckline, I ended up sewing it higher from the mark, about 2.5 inches, and the same for the back. And I'm happy you can't see my bra strap here. I'm not showing cleavage, which is something that I just could not do. I could not leave the house showing cleavage. It's just not my thing. But I know other people like it, so it's all up to you. That's why I think it's really correct that you leave the neckline for the very end, because how are you going to know unless you try it on? And the only way you can try it on is till the very end. I prefer to try it on having everything, even the skirt, the drawstring, because the weight of the skirt brings the bodice down as well. I think if you just sewed a bodice on its own, you wouldn't get the correct look of how it's going to actually fit because the skirt's missing. So the casing, that was so easy. I love that this section over here is black, and then we get this beautiful print again. I was able to match up the print on the sides pretty much, and it turned out amazing. I did my hem by machine because I left it black at the bottom, so it's pretty discreet. The process, I think, was super fun. I mean, there was nothing hard here. It was just different. And I was excited to try it on because I didn't try it on till the very, very end. No test garment, nothing. So here are my shoulders with the pleats. The seam allowance is open. It's already flat. I took my time to pin it really nicely. There are the necklines, center back seam, center front seam, side seams. You know, it was just so nice. And the casing is a very easy technique. I like it when designers leave the casing like that because it's very effective and it's very easy to do. I've seen other casings that are just overcomplicated without needing to be so. So I really enjoyed sewing this one. Now, how am I going to know what is the front and the back when I get this from the hanger? Because I might not remember. At the back here on the seam, I tacked by hand a little bit in a burgundy color. So I do that a lot with my makes, and then I look, and I always look for that colorful stitching that no one's going to see, and I know that's the back because I don't use labels for dresses. I only use labels when I make jackets because the labels, I can feel them. So I don't do labels. That would be very helpful for you to know if you did use labels. I filmed the dress on outside at sunset basically, so I had to stand on the street where there was a little more light. So yeah, just styled with heels and a bag. It's amazing. This is my summer breeze dress from Pattern Emporium. I made a size 16 and this is a rayon crepe. Nice and drapey, but more of a medium weight. It's not sheer. I don't need to wear a sleeve underneath. I used the double border print, elasticated waistband with a casing. You can do a fabric drawstring as well, but I just prefer the elastic. It's more comfortable for me. The waist is supposed to be above the natural waist. Mine is about 1 inch above, so I think that's absolutely fine. And it's such a comfortable fit. It's so lovely. Check out this skirt. It's A-lined. You can make it maxi if you want with slits. This is a look at the bodice, and I can't believe it came out of these amazing rectangles. I did have to raise my neckline by about 2 inches, and I opted to do the pleats on the shoulders. You can do drawstrings, you can leave it normal, and then it turns out dolman. This is just folded in and top stitch, serged, same as the armholes there, very neatly. And it's such a nice fit. I got the height right, I'm happy with that. I can bend over and check out that V neckline on the back. I feel comfortable that this is not going to be falling off, but if you are uncomfortable, you can add a strap across the back just to keep it together. In any case, I can add a bra keeper later, and the process of sewing this one was so fun. It was so different to any other bodices I've ever sewn, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm really happy with it, and I hope I can get a top done. I think this would be cute as a peplum top, just making the skirt pieces a little shorter. It's a lovely, gorgeous dress for summer. Check out the Summer Breeze. I think it's amazing. I would have loved to make another one and try that shoulder option with the ruching, but I only had time to make one dress this time. This would also be so cute as a top, summer top. Just cut the skirt shorter. I'd probably leave a peplum about 5 or 6 inches like that. I think that would be adorable as well. Grab it for half off today. It's an amazing price. You'll really enjoy this project. I really did. Have an amazing weekend. I have a full plate of sewing this weekend, full on. I'll be sewing something that I'm really excited to sew. So even though I'll be working a lot, I will be enjoying myself. See you back on this channel next week with more fun sewing. Bye.